Yeah, good morning, students. My voice is audible, and can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Uh, uh, 1 second, students. 1 second, stay online. Yes, fine. See, I believe so. Last class, you discussed about this keyword called throw. You discussed the keyword called throw, and we have discussed the keyword called throws. Yes, throws. And before that, we have studied try, and we have studied catch. We have studied catch. In today's class, we are going to study about this finally. We are going to study about this finally. So using these five keywords, what we are going to do, we are going to manage this exceptional handling. Exception handling. This question is a very, very important question. So how to handle exception? So in order to handle exception, we are going to use these five important keywords. So try we have studied, catch we have studied, throw we have studied throws, and today's class we are going to study about this finally. And what is this finally all about? So let us discuss in detail, right? No. So let us take the first point. The first point is a very important point. Finally creates a block of code that will be executed after. That's very important. That will be executed after try and catch block has completed and before the code following try and catch block. So what it means, so let me illustrate this with an example. So let me share my screen. Uh, so I have an online compiler. So now you see that, and let me try to throw an exception. Throw arithmetic exception, right? So since the statement is trying, so inside this main method, arithmetic exception is thrown. I need to place inside this. I need to place this statement inside this my try block. Right. So I place inside try block. And for every try block, we should have corresponding catch block. And what I'm trying to catch, I'm trying to catch an arithmetic exception, right? And inside this, let me write system.out.println. Let me write inside catch block. Catch block. Is it right, students? So now, can you tell the output of this program, students? Yeah. Can you tell the output of this program? Is what's the output of this program, students? Any response? What's the output of this program? Yes, Ranjan, what is the output of this program? Vaishnavi, Sai Shri, Faisal, Chandini, Kishan P, Nityasri, Panchami. What's the output of this program? Rutvik, Vaibhav, Pratap, Neha, Rohit, Nishita R, someone is typing in chat box. Yeah, very good, Ranjan. Ranjan says inside cash block and hello world. Very good, Ranjan. Naveen Kumar says that inside cash block, hello world. Very good, very good. So your answer is correct. So as we discuss the students, what's going to happen, right? So whenever an exception occurs, and before that, let me do one more change. Let me write. Inside. Yeah. Now, what is the output of this program, students? What's the output of this program? Yeah, give it a try again. The output remains same. Anything else? Yes, come on, give it a try. Yes, Ranjan. Yes. So Ranjan says the output remains same. And what about Naveen Kumar? What's your answer? Okay, fine. So see, as we know the students, so what's going to happen whenever an exception occurs? So control execution begins from main method. So inside the main method, first I'm trying to throw an exception. So whenever an exception occurs, the control moves inside the catch block and the statements inside the catch block gets executed. And what the statement I'm having a statement called system.out.println inside catch block. So this statement gets executed, right? After executing this statement, where the control goes to the next statement after my try and catch block. So it's going to execute this statement hello world. So if I run this program, I need to get the output called inside catch block and hello world. That's the output I'll be expecting. Probably I missed a keyword called new here. Yeah. So let me run again. Code unreachable. Fine. Yeah, you see the students. I got the same expected output. So what's my expected output? So this is what we're expected, right? And you can see that I got inside catch block and I got hello world. That's what when exception occurs, the control moves inside the catch block. The statement gets executed. So I'll be getting inside catch block. Next, the control moves outside of my catch block, so it will print hello world. So that's what I'm getting hello world, right? Now let me do a small change for this program. Next, so after catch block, and let me remove this. After catch block, let me write a finally block. You can see finally block, and inside this. I'll writing inside finally. Can you tell the output of this program? Since we have read the statement, and can you tell the output of this program? Let me pull back the slide, and you can read the slide and you can read the first statement. By reading this first statement, you should tell the output. Finally creates a block of code that will be executed after. So when this finally block will be executed after try and catch block has completed. So once the try and catch block completed, I'm going to execute finally and before the code following the try and catch block, right? So that's what it says. So now can you tell the output of this program? Yeah, can you tell the output of this program, students? So what's going to happen here? So when an exception occurs, anyhow, before let me run this program. Let me check the output. It's fine. Yeah. Let me pull this. Put in a single frame. Yeah, fine. Okay, fine. You see that. So this statement I placed inside this try block, right? I think try. Let us assume the try is okay. It's went up. It's try. It's a keyword called try. I open the floor brace. Now I'm trying to throw an exception. When exception occurs, the control moves inside this catch block. Okay, and what's going to happen? The statement inside the catch block gets executed. So I'll be getting the output called inside catch block, right? Now, so once the statement inside the catch block gets executed, generally where the control goes statements after try and catch block. And what's the statement of the try and catch block? This is the statement after the try and catch block, right? So that's what we have seen. So previously we got hello world. But as you notice, students, here, I have tried to include it a new block. I've included a new block and we call this block as finally block. And we call this as a finally block. And when this finally block will get executed, this finally block will be executed after completion of catch block. So once I finish executing the statements inside the catch block, the control moves from catch block to the finally block. That's very, very important. Okay, the control moves from the catch block to the finally block. So after executing code inside the finally block, so then only the code will move outside of this try and catch block. That's very, very important. Okay, the most important thing is, see, after executing the statements inside the catch block, the code will go inside your finally block and the statements inside the finally block will get executed. So once I finish executing the statements inside the finally block, then the control moves outside of this try and catch block. That is hello world, it gets printed. So therefore you can see that in the output, first it is printing inside catch block. So I'll be getting inside catch block. Then the way the control goes to the inside the finally block. And therefore I'm getting output as inside finally block. So after finishing executing the code inside the finally block, I'll be going going outside of my try and catch block. And therefore I'm getting the output as hello world, right? Now, the most important thing you should understand is, so what is the significance of this finally block? What's the significance and when we should write this finally block, right? That's a very important thing we need to understand. Okay, so let me illustrate this, why we should write this finally block. Now, for example, let us assume that I'm not going to write the complete code. Let us assume that I'm trying to open a connection. I'm trying to open a connection to database. I'm trying to open a connection to database. After trying to open a connection to database, I'm going to execute. I'm going to execute some SQL queries. I'm going to execute some SQL queries. Okay. After executing some SQL queries, I'm going to display the result. After displaying the result, I need to close the connection. Are you right, student? So these are the important steps which we need to follow when we want to execute an SQL query inside your database, right? I hope you understood this, right? So let us assume I have a database. This is my database, and this is my source code. From my source code, I need to connect to this database. In order to connect to the database, first what I should do, I need to open the connection. So once I open the connection, to this connection, what I can do, I can send some SQL commands. I can send some SQL commands. Using these SQL commands, I'm going to execute some queries. So once I execute some queries, what I'm going to display the result based on these SQL commands. I hope instead of doing you know about this database, students? Have you studied about database? Oh, before that, okay, fine. Instead of doing, I think you're not studying database. Let us discuss about file. Open the connection to a file, okay, and try to perform read or write operation. Read an operation on file. Okay, let us try to open the connection to a file and try to perform read and write operation on the file and try to display the result and close the connection, right? Probably files you might have studied in your C program, right? So let us assume this is a small file. In this file, there are some contents are there. These contents are there. And what I should do, the contents in this file, I need to read it. In order to read the contents of this file, what I should do, first I need to open a connection to the file. So from my source code, what I should do, I need to open a connection to this file. So once I open a connection to this file, I need to perform some read operation. So once I read all the contents of this file, then what I should do, I need to display the result. So once I display the result, what I should do, I need to close this connection. So once I finish the operation, what operation? So once I finish read operation, what I should do, I need to close the connection. I need to close this connection. So that's what we need to do inside our program, right? Now, listen very carefully. Let us assume that I have tried to open the connection. So since I'm trying to open the connection, I have tried to open the connection to this file. Okay. Next, what I should do, I need to perform some read operation. So at the time of performing some read operation means I'm trying to read the contents of this file. At the time of performing a read operation, what's going to happen? An exception has occurred. An exception. What exception has occurred? Some input output exception. Okay, some input output exception is occurred. What is input output means? While I'm trying to perform some read operation, some exception has occurred. Once an exception has occurred, where the control goes to the catch block. And instead of writing arithmetic exception, just let me write superclass exception. Okay, so when I'm trying to perform some read operation, input output exception has occurred. When an exception occurs, where the control goes to the inside the catch block. So once the control goes inside the catch block, next way, so after executing the statements inside the catch block, where the control goes, so let us assume this finally block is not there. Let us assume this finally block is not there. So after executing the statements inside the catch block, where the control goes after this try and catch block. Now, if the program is executing like this, what's going to happen? See, as you know that whenever we try to open any connection, it is mandated that we need to close that connection. But in this case, what has happened? I opened the connection successfully. Since some exceptions occur while performing some read and write operation, the control has moved inside the catch block. And after executing the code inside the catch block, the control is going to the statements after the try and catch block. In other words, here I have not performed this close operation. Have you noticed, students? I have not performed this close operation. So see, whenever you try to open any connection, so once you finish with the connection, it is mandated that you need to close this connection. But what has happened in this scenario, at the time of performing read operation, an exception has occurred. So since exception has occurred, the remaining block of code has not executed. Since the remaining block of code has not executed, I have failed to close this connection. Okay, so in order to avoid this type of errors, so what we can do, okay, so instead of writing close the connection, where we should write it? We should write close the connection. Where we should write? We should write inside this finally block. Now what's going to happen here? You see that now it's a file. This file is having some contents, right? Now I'm trying to open the connection. Using this statement, I'm trying to open this connection. Now at the time of performing some read operation, an exception has occurred. So whenever exception has occurred, so let me change this also to exception. Okay. So whenever exception has occurred, the control goes to the catch block. The control goes to the catch block, and the code inside the catch block gets executed. So after executing the code inside the catch block, where the control goes to the finally block, and inside the finally block, what we have done, we have tried to close the connection. You see that I have opened the connection, but some error has occurred. Even though error has occurred, I'm trying to close this connection. So in this scenario, the finally block is very, very useful, right? And one more thing, you see that, and one more important thing. Okay, let us assume that this is a file. Okay. Now the question comes, see, this finally block will be executed. This finally block will be executed even though there is no error inside your source code. What I mean to say that, let us assume you try to open the connection to this file. Okay, I will try to open the connection. What's going to happen? You're trying to perform read and write operation. So this is also successful. Then what you're trying to do, you're trying to display the result. So after displaying the result, you see that in all these three statements, exception has not occurred. Since exception has not occurred, the control will never go to this cache block, right? Then where it goes? it goes to the finally block. You see that whether exception occur or whether exception has not occurred, the finally block will be executed. The final block will be executed whether exception has occurred or whether exception does not occur. In either of the cases, the final block will be executed, right? So this statement will execute first time, first statement, the second statement, is the third statement, and is the fourth statement. You see that? The successful, I'm trying to close the connection. Even though the error has not occurred, but still I'm able to execute this statement. That is the code inside this finally block. Yeah. I hope you understood this. Right. And let me illustrate this. Let me write int equal to 10. Inside finally block. Okay. Let me run this program. And you see the students, what's the output? I'm getting inside finally block and I'm getting hello world. You see that inside this try block, int equal 10 is not throwing any exception. Since it's not throwing any exception, the control will never move to this catch block. But you see that the code inside the finally block is executed. You see that the code inside the finally block is executed. After executing the code inside the finally block, where the control is going, the control is going after this try and catch block. Right? The most important thing is a finally block will be executed whether exception has occurred or whether exception has not occurred. In either of the cases, this finally block will be executed. Right? Now you see that now. Now let me try to throw an exception. Let me try to throw an exception. Throw in arithmetic exception. That now let me run. See that output. See that output? Now I'm getting inside catch block. Why? Because exceptions occur. When exceptions occur, the control move goes to the catch block. But you see that the finally block is executed, right? Whether exception occur or whether exception has not occurred, in either of the cases, the finally block will be executed. That's very, very important. You need to keep in your mind. So when we should write this, when we should use this finally block, whenever you want to close any connection, whenever you want to close any connection, want to close any connection. Whenever you want to close any connection, the closing of the connection will be always done. The closing of the connection will be done always inside your finally block. That's very, very important. Okay. When you try to open any connection, the closing of the connection must be always written inside your finally block. Any questions, students? Any questions? Yeah, any questions? You're welcome. If there are no questions, and just you can read this. I can read these points and you can tell the output of this program. Yes, I request the students to tell the output of this program. Don't remain silent. Read all these points and tell the output of this program. Make it fast. I'll give 1 at a time. I can see students typing the answer. No, sir, if you put the code inside the finally block, without the, sir, if you put the code inside the finally block, without the finally block, I didn't get you, Likita, what you said. If you put the code inside the finally block, without the finally block, after the try and catch block, it still has the same output. No, sir. Okay. Okay. Got it. Look at what you're trying to convey. There's no need for finally block now. See, look at, once you write the program, then you can know this beauty of this finally block. Okay, so with respect to my example, you may think that it may be working, but it does not work. Okay, it does not work. So once you write a complete program, you can try, then you can see it. Okay. Okay, but that's not a good practice. Okay, once you write the program, then you can know the beauty of this program. Okay, but that's not a good thing. What you suggested. Okay, the closing of the connection must be always placed inside the finally block. Okay, you should not put after your try and catch block. Okay, once you run, you can go to some online codes where you can find they'll try to open a connection to database. Okay, there you can see that they'll be trying to close the connection inside this finally block. Okay, once you run the program, then you'll come to know. Okay, okay, that's good question, Vicky. That's good. Okay, fine. Okay, but closing a connection outside of the try and catch block, it's not a good practice. Okay. Okay, fine. Okay, fine, students. You can tell the output of this program. You can read these points and in the left side written some points. Try to understand this and try to tell the output of this program. Okay, fine. So let me discuss this. Okay. So this I think we have seen, and this also I think we have seen, right? Just now discussed. Finally, block will be executed whether or not an exception is thrown. Okay. If an exception is thrown, the finally block will be executed even if the no catch statement matches the. That's one more thing I would like to illustrate. Yeah. See, one more important thing. Yeah. Yeah. Once I read the points, recollecting. You see the students, as I said in my previous classes, for every try block, okay, for every try block, when you write a try block, it's mandated that you need to write the corresponding catch block. That's what I used to tell, right? When you write any try block, for a try block, it is mandated that you need to write at least one catch block. If you fail to write a catch block, what's going to happen? An error will occur in your program, right? So let us see this. So let me run the program. Okay, you see that it's trying to throw an error. You see that it is trying to throw an error. You see that it's trying to throw an error. Why? It's telling try without catch. You see that try means I've written a try block. I've written a try block. That is, I open the try block and I've closed the try block. And for this try block, I have not written the catch block. Since I have not written the catch block, it is throwing an error. So that's what we have seen up to now, that every try block, it's mandated that we need to write at least one catch block. And the most important thing here, see, every try block can have at least one catch block or it can have a finally block. I repeat, a try block can have at least one catch block or it can have a finally block, right? So let us see, that's what it says, error try without catch, comma, finally, right? So a try block can have either a catch block or it can have a finally block. And let me copy and paste the code. A try block, okay, you see that. Now you see that for this try block, you see that I have not written a catch block. Instead of catch block, what I've written a finally block. So what we understood, a try block can have at least one catch block or it can have a finally block. Now let us see that. Now let us run this program. And let me clear my drawings. What would happen? Unreachable. Statement. Okay, fine. Okay. You see the students, you see that here I'm not getting any error. What I'm getting here, you see that I'm not getting any error, right? Here I'm getting a runtime error. Previously, I got compilation time error. You see that for this try statement, it's beginning here. Where it's ending, it is ending here. Okay. You see that for this try statement, instead of writing a catch block, I written a finally block. Okay. So a try block can have at least one catch block, or it can have a finally block. So what's going to happen? You see that the code inside the try block is getting executed. And what is this? That is inside finally block. And why I got this java.lang.arithmetic exception? Because inside my program, I'm trying to throw an exception called arithmetic exception. So since I'm trying to throw an arithmetic exception, I'm getting the corresponding output. Is it right, students? Okay. I hope you understood this. Okay. So in order to avoid this exception, for this try block, you should write the corresponding catch block. So thereby you can avoid this runtime error, right? But the main intention of writing this code is you need to understand that every try block can have at least one catch block, or it can have a finally block. That's the intention of writing this code. Okay. So that's what it says. So let me remove this. Let me run this program. So you see that what the error says that read the error. So error try without catch or finally. Okay, a try can have either catch block or it can have either finally. It can also have both. Okay, but at least it should have one catch block, or at least it should have one finally block. I hope you understood this. So let me share this. Yeah. Yes, students, you got the output. What? The finally clause is also executed just before the method returns. Okay. The finally clause is also executed just before the method returns. The finally clause is optional. It is not mandated that for every try block you should write finally clause. Okay, it's an optional. If you want to write it, you can write it, or if you want to omit, you can omit it. Each try statement requires at least one catch or finally clause, and that's what is very, very important. It's very, very important, right? Each try statement requires at least one catch block or finally clause, and that's not I have discussed. Yes, students. Now, can you tell the output of this program? So as you know that control execution begins from main method. And inside this main method, I'm trying to call a procedure called A. So where the control is a procedure called A? Yes, I have procedure called A. The control jumps to this method. And inside this method, what I'm trying to print procedure A. I'm trying to print procedure A. After printing, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to throw an exception called runtime exception. You see that after printing procedure A, I'm trying to throw an exception called runtime exception. So what's going to happen when runtime exception is thrown? Okay. So what's going to happen when runtime exception is thrown? What's going to happen, students? This exception has to be caught. Now inside this procedure A, I'm trying to catch this runtime exceptions. No, I'm not going to catch this runtime exception. Since I'm not going to catch this runtime exception inside the procedure called A, where this exception will be thrown, inside my main method. This exception will be thrown inside my main method. And inside this main method, what I'm trying to do, you see that this procedure A, I place inside this try and catch block. So this catch block is going to catch this exception. What exception? That is runtime exception. Okay. And you see that what? So you see that the finally clause is executed just before the method returns. So before this method returns to the main, this main block, this finally block will be executed. So therefore, in the output, I'll be getting inside procedure A, and then I'll getting procedure A's finally. Right, and that's what it says. See that the finally clause is also executed just before the method returns. So here, what I'm trying to do, this method procedure A is trying to return an exception, and this procedure A is not handling these exceptions. Right, so since it's not handling this exception, the exception will be thrown back to the main method, and inside this main method, I'm trying to catch this exception. right? But that's what the statement says, that before the method returns, the code inside the finally block will get executed. So first, this statement will be printed, and second, this statement will be printed. And next, what we're trying to do, so third, this statement will be printed. Next, what I'm trying to, next I'm trying to call procedure B. Okay, next I'm trying to call procedure B, and I'll go to this procedure B. So inside this procedure B, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to print inside procedure B. So fourth, this statement will be printed. And next I'm trying to return. So before I return from the method, what's going to happen? The code inside this, the code inside the finally block will be executed. So fifth, the statement is going to be printed, right? So next, what I'm trying to, so next I'm going to call this procedure C. The control jumps inside this procedure C. So inside this procedure C, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to print inside procedure C. So this statement will be printed as sixth, okay? And next, you see that inside the try block, there is no exception. Whether exception occurred or whether exception does not occur, this finally block will be executed. So this will be my seventh statement. So this is what the output I'll be getting. Any questions, students? That's what it says. You see that? That's what. The finally block will be executed whether or not an exception is thrown. So that's what this will get executed. Right. See that. I can see that we'll get the same output. Let us try to verify. So this is first one. First one is inside procedure A. I got it. Next, two is procedure A is finally block. Yeah, procedure A is finally. Next, what is third? We got exception caught. Yes, we got exception caught. Next, what's the fourth output? Inside procedure B. Yes, inside procedure B. Next, fifth one is procedure B is finally. Yes, procedure B finally. And next, sixth one is inside procedure C. Inside procedure C. Seventh one is procedure C is finally. Procedure C is finally. See that I got the same output. Let me clear my drawings. You can see that. Yeah. Any questions, students? Respect this finally. Any questions? Any questions, students? Any questions? You're welcome. Any questions? No questions. That's well and good. Okay. Yes, is very important. Okay. The general form of exceptional handling. Okay, what's the general form of exceptional handling? The general form is nothing but the syntax of exception handling. So you see that we'll always begin with a try block. So the block of code which you want to monitor for errors. The block of code which you want to monitor for errors must be placed inside your try block. And if for a try block, what we can have? We can have at least one cache block. For a try block, we can have at least one cache block. There's no constraint that we should have only one cache block. We can have more than one cache block. Is that right? We can have more than one cache block. So that's a syntax I'll be showing here. Okay. So first I'll writing try block. So inside the try block, we are going to write the block of code which you want to monitor for errors, right? So immediately after try block, we'll be having a cache block. You see that we'll be having a cache block. Okay, this is exception type 1, exception type 2, ... means we can have n number of exception types. What is exception type? That's what you are seeing. It means arithmetic exception. EXEOB is nothing but exception object. It can be a variable called E, or it can be any variable. So with respect to our example, we have taken exception object as E, right? And it can be like this. We can have n number of cache blocks. First cache block, second cache block, and second cache block can be array index outer bound exception. Okay, and exception object, it can be any variable. So we have picked E. This ... indicates I can have n number of cache blocks. There's no constraint. Okay, so after writing n number of cache blocks, so finally we are going to write a finally block. Writing n number of cache blocks.